I want to know if you think that the OP was wrong in the way that he treated his father-in-law. It's from the subreddit Am I the A-hole? And it's titled, Am I the A-hole for not giving NEET father-in-law money? For those of you who don't know what NEET means, it means not employed in education or in training. My 66-year-old father-in-law had 3 children, each within a year and a half from the next. 1 girl, my wife, 2 younger boys. He was abusive and misogynistic during his marriage, and when my wife was around 6, he lost his job under unknown circumstances and left his wife and kids. He moved in with his mother. His father was deceased decades prior and lived with her, being cared and fed by her and her pension. He never paid alimony and didn't provide any support whatsoever. He would see his children only occasionally when they visited their grandma. She, meaning grandma, took out of pity and because she thought he was mentally ill. We all came to a conclusion: he is. My wife's grandmother passed away around 14 years ago, and my father-in-law did nothing to improve. His older brother took care of the funeral but lives in another state and has no interest in helping him. He is a horrible person. Although he actually works, he wants his brother to die so he can get the house. Wow. My father-in-law just lives off her savings. My wife has a tricky relationship with him. He is unstable and seems to have some sort of intellectual disability, but not aggressive. He's thin and very weak. My wife doesn't bother visiting him for the past 5 years since he said I was a bad male model for my son and that he needed to be raised by a real man, whatever that means. Last week, he called and asked to see her in person. She asked what it was about, and he refused to elaborate. She called her brothers, and they said his money was gone and they have been secretly helping for a while but can't anymore. Both brothers are also deadbeats and only have temp jobs every once in a while. My wife went there and he said he was now in debt and needed the equivalent of about $2,000 in US money. He said he wanted a response by email. He is a coward and is afraid to talk to me. When she told me that I wrote an email that basically said I'll give him money if he did 3 things. 1, show me his bank balance and everything he owes, credit card balance and everything. I want to know how deep the problem is. 2, he tells me all of his income sources for the past decade. 3, he comes up with a plan to get a new source of income, either disability checks, which he is entitled, but he refused to, or a job. He also says many times he refused to ever work again, never elaborates on why. He ignored my email and called my wife asking her to convince me to give him the money. She asked if he would do what I asked. He was rude and said he wouldn't. My mother-in-law talked with my wife, says she pities him and thinks he's mentally ill and mentally challenged and that I should be convinced to pay a monthly allowance to him. I have 0 debt, but currently what I earn is what I spend, and we have no luxuries. I have some savings, but that's for our future and my son's college. Now what? Ooh, your father-in-law is a deadbeat. If you give him money now, he's gonna keep coming for you. And your email to him about your 3 requirements, it's not unreasonable. Completely reasonable. Because you really want to know if he's really, really in debt and how much he is really in debt. Or maybe he's just lying and he's trying to get pity. And just trying to get money from you. So yeah, you're smart to do that, OP. Anyways, I honestly think that, you know what, you need to take care of your own family. Your wife, yeah, I'm sure she probably feels a little pity, and so does your mother-in-law, but it's not your problem, really, honestly. And like you had said, you don't have much savings except for yourself and for your, son's future. So you know what, focus on your own and don't worry about father-in-law. If he tries to approach your wife again, you know what, you need to step in and be like, look, If you want your daughter, aka my wife, to try to convince me to give you money, no. Be a man and ask me directly. And I mean, like, I can't believe this guy. The father-in-law goes like, oh, you're a bad influence for my grandson because he needs to be raised by a real man. Really? You're a guy who's asking for money through his daughter. Won't even ask the son who could possibly provide it. Anyways, let's see what some of the commenters have to say. First commenter says, not the a-hole. It would be unwise to give a large sum of money to someone who has a history of poor money management. If you give him money, there's a good chance that it'll be misspent and will only temporarily elevate father-in-law's problems. If you choose to help, prepay his rent, pay his electric bill, or buy him groceries, don't give money. OP responds saying, he doesn't pay rent per se, but I am unsure if the house is fully paid up. I know for a fact he stopped paying his energy and water bills. He said so, but we don't know since when. Not sure how he managed for so many years. He always refused to tell us anything. Groceries can be a good compromise, but for how long? How can he get to do nothing and get a free pass from life, and I get to bust my butt for 25 years of employment nonstop? Good point. Your father-in-law is just a lazy bum at this point. He just wants to freeload off of anyone. He doesn't want to do anything for himself. Let him suffer. Another person says, you owe him nothing. And you are correct that if you start paying anything to him or for him, it will not end. Do not get dragged down the rabbit hole. If he qualifies for disability, then leave it at that as his route. Another commenter says, as a real man, he shouldn't take hands out from his daughter and sister-in-law. He should make his own money. I will tell him this. Exactly. Another commenter says, do not give him a penny. Call whatever it is equivalent to social service or senior services where you live. Let them deal with him. Your wife owes him nothing. You owe him nothing, not the a-hole. OP responds by saying, I'm in Brazil. I don't know how it works, but my mother-in-law was a social worker for a long time and knows the whole drill. However, he cannot be committed involuntarily and he refuses to cooperate. Well, then you know what? It is not your problem, OP. Another commenter says, sounds like he has an option for an income disability. If he chooses not to enroll there, then he made his choice. This is not your family's problem. OP responds by saying, he has. I looked into it today, and it's not a lot, but it would certainly keep him fed. I've looked into it and sent some links to my wife and asked her, literally a couple of hours ago, if I should send it to her. She says she better do it herself. Better odds of him going through, I guess. I was pleasantly surprised if he goes forward with it, but let's see. Okay, well, hey, at least you're trying to help him with something, I guess. Another commenter says, OP, if he's mentally unstable when it comes down to his care and bills, get your local DHR and mental health service involved. If they feel he needs to be under supervision, they can easily force him by taking it to court and becoming his caregiver, taking care of his housing, pay bills, meds, healthcare, and even get him started on disability check he doesn't want. You and your wife don't have to be the ones to take care of him. Let the state deal with him for you, not the a-hole. OP responds by saying, my mother-in-law has spoken to him about it a couple of times. He gets angry and states he is not crazy and he doesn't need this sort of help or treatment. He is extremely unstable. He would make insane demands to his small children. He would rip his wife's dress because he didn't want her to be out of the house. He would provoke fights. On 2 occasions, he took dogs from shelters and let them out into the streets after a few weeks. When confronted, he would ramble on about non-related items. He's afraid of me because he knows I don't take crap from him. Our relationship was cordial and respectful at first, but it went sour after I learned more about who he is. Honestly, the reason I posted this here is that I don't care if he even starves. I had enough of this. Sounds like you do. Another commenter says, I understand, and if he's violent like that, DHR and mental health will have the police and ambulance forcibly take him out and put him under their care if he deems to be in need of being under their service. And that's not anything he or mother-in-law can do if he's deemed to be a danger to himself or others. Let the state deal with him. OP responds, as far as I am aware, he was never physically violent towards anyone. He was extremely cruel and possessive. We have plenty of stories about his childish behavior. He's like a 66-year-old toddler. He sure sounds like it. Anyways, what do you guys think? Do you think the OP was an a-hole for the way that he made his requirement to his father-in-law? Or do you think he did the right thing? Personally, I think he did a wonderful thing by making him own up to it. Anyways, let me know in the comment section. And remember, if you like these types of stories, to continue to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys later.